Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Really Toon Talk. And back again tonight with the North East Show. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
No problem, mate. Thanks for having us.
Excellent. And just before we start the show, I just want to say a massive shout out to Sunderland West End Reds under 7s yesterday for the first ever game of football. A bit of a crazy morning, how it all turned out, but really good in the end. Some cracking lads. So special thank you to obviously all the parents yesterday as well, who turned out to be a cracking bunch, but also the lads as well: Jude, Jaden, Parker, Arlo, Zach, Lenny, and Harrison. Going forward, hopefully we can kind of group together and see what we can do on and off the pitch, like, cause it seems a really good cracking bunch. And manage you already.
I knew you would do it.
But no, massive shot. We got beat 2-0 yesterday, watching from the sideline, but the kids loved it, so that's the main thing.
It started a football journey, wasn't it?
It's amazing, really good. But I think just a smile on my face is kind of just looking at the results yesterday from the North East. I know we've been chatting about it all day today. What a place to be at the minute, for especially the FA Cup and some of the league results yesterday, wasn't it?
Absolutely amazing. Again, it's kind of putting more weight to what we've always believed anyway, isn't about the hotbed of football. Special mention to Ashton and Blythe. Absolutely amazing results, them two, for those two clubs. In particular, Ashton, because I managed to catch a bit of the videos, the celebrations after the game.
Yeah, really good.
You can tell what it meant to the club and the players and stuff, So congratulations to both clubs there,
Definitely. I think that's where we start, and obviously with the FA Cup results, and it's nice to see in the next round that we're going to have at least 4 or 5 North East kind of non-league sides going to that third round qualifying round. I mean, looking at some of the results yesterday, starting with Ashton, 2-1 win against Bradford Park Avenue. I think it was over 700 people there, which any crowd down isn't it? 7 around that, wasn't it? Yeah, brilliant. No one goal in the Harmison a goal as well, but just mentioned one of the lads who's potentially coming on the show next week as well. Neil Cooper is, I think, is coach down at Ashton, and just the love and his passion for the club that he kind of puts all the pictures on off. And like yesterday, had all the stuff on as well after the game, and it just shows you how much. Like if you go to some big clubs, the FA Cup, and they're putting out these weaker sides, and if they're playing in Europe, they'll put just like nothing to them. Where these sides and these coaches, these managers, it means so much to them, doesn't it?
Does they get it? And these bigger clubs, to me, and I've always said this for years and years of watching the FA Cup, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to the clubs in the competition and to the competition itself, Like say the likes of Ashton and stuff, you could see just how much that meant yesterday. It means everything to play in a competition like that. I know it's like the prelim rounds, but still to be playing in that competition, it's the pride on the players walking out of that tunnel to take the pitch to play the game. Money can't buy it, in my opinion.
Yeah,
really can't buy it.
Definitely, especially a team as well, National League North above them. It's amazing how they come down, and I think some of them sides where they are kind of playing a division above or 2 divisions above, I think they're coming down for an easier game. But I think any game in the North East doesn't matter, especially when they have to come up here. It's a totally different story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like the Premier League sides come to St James's Park. They don't want to come up here because the Bradford Park, they're not an easy side to beat, So where they're playing, it's a good standard of football themselves. So coming up here and saying this is what the North East is about. It's not just representing the club; it's the whole region, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Never feels so amazing. It really doesn't.
Definitely. So it'd be nice to hopefully if Neil's on Thursday night to kind of go through the emotions of yesterday, because I would imagine it was a good party atmosphere after the match yesterday, and who he wants in the next round as well. Yeah. Next game, obviously, Blythe Spartans 2-0 win against Guiseley. Again, another cracking win. And Fenton just seems to be doing things right since he's gone in there. I know the 2 lads that scored, Richardson and McNall, both kind of former Newcastle youth players as well. I mean, Richardson, he's been around the Northern League, the North East scene for a while now, and what a player. He's so calm on the ball. And McNall up front as well, he just kind of stopped getting amongst the goals at the minute. He seems to be turning the right way now, Fenton, doesn't he, since he's come
in? He's been a breath of fresh air since he's taken back over the reins, hasn't he? He's got the lads want to play for the club, represent the shirt. You know what I mean? Kudos to him for doing that, because I know they were in a bit of a sticky patch before he took over, weren't they? So the turnaround of Blythe's phenomenal, and a lot of that's got to go down to Graham Fenton. So
a lot of fans were saying midweek when they drew 1-1 with Farsley, and they kind of put the highlights on everyone. So that was kind of not as in a disrespect way, but that was kind of the worst game of football I've watched, as like a scrappy draw type of thing. But some of them scrappy draws, then 1 points that could come crucial come the end of the season, couldn't it? Especially if they're looking for playoffs and stuff like that. Massively.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people that know football in general, at that point somewhere down the line, that was a very good point. And it'll stand them in good stead for the remainder of the season. It'll kind of carry them through, You're not always going to play good, attractive football. It just doesn't work like that, So if you can get a point better than nothing at all, so all those points are going to build up, and hopefully they can kick on that little bit further. I think they've got the right man for the job in Fenton, mind. He's got a proven track record, hasn't he? So fair play to them, like.
Definitely. I think that was a scrappy game. Wait a couple of months' time when that Blythe pitch is like a mud bath. That'll be a totally different. Could be a crucial one for them as well. Evening, Tony. Thank you for watching. Just rushed home to get it. What's his favourite show? Honestly, it means so much. I was just mentioning it yesterday, wasn't I, Stephen? The support from Tony, it's absolutely fantastic. And Tony was at the Ashton game yesterday. We just literally been talking about that. And massive game and a huge win for the club as well. Getting on the next North East team on the list. Not quite a good day at the office. Spennymoor 2-0 defeat against Clitheroe. And it's not just the FA Cup as well. I think the league as well, it's a really poor start. And I think they've brought in, obviously, the Johnson-Morley partnership management to try and push on that next level. They seem to do well to get to that level, but they just kind of get that next push where these two are brought in for that. And they've kind of changed the squad completely. And it's still not paying off, is it?
No, it's not really. I think they're kind of stuck in a rut in the transition period, aren't they? It's do you stick or twist? I'm sure the right men to take the club forward, and hopefully that happens sooner rather than later, But like I say, lost 2-0 against Clitheroe. You cannot win them all. I think at that level, it's kind of a little bit about learning, kind of like learn from your mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll kind of kick on a bit from that. Like,
be really interesting in a few weeks' time when Jason Aidensley on as well. I know he was obviously Spenny manager for many years, but now a part of the behind the scenes as well. Just to kind of get his thoughts on kind of this season so far, which were really good. Next North East one on there, Dunstan and Scarborough 3-2 defeat against them, but it's nothing to be ashamed of that one, because I mean it's second National League North versus the Northern Premier East, and 2-0 down at half time as well, and they've shown some fight to come back in that one, and very unlucky in the end as well. It's a really good show to put up against them, isn't it?
It really is. One thing I've found over the years, kind of following Dunstan from afar, they've got plenty of fight in them. They're not going to stop till that final whistle, and it's good to see that and continue on that. And it's not an embarrassing thing, 2-0 down, and then you come back, you lose the game 3-2, Fair play to them. It's a massive achievement from everybody at the club, to be fair. So they can't be too disheartened with that,
Definitely not. And hopefully that little performance coming back like that as well, that'll be push them on into the league and see what they can do back in the league action next week as well. On that one. And John Cryan, John, thank you very much for watching. Great show for anyone in non-league football. Really appreciate your comment, lads. Really, really do. Makes our days, it does. Getting on to the next game, and again, it's the poor start again for Whitby. Whitby 0, Mars 1. Obviously, both two North East side titles, so it was kind of good that still one of them's gone through. But poor start by Whitby, and I think it just goes back to midweek for them, and they got beat 6-0. And I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, the fourth goal went in for Gainsborough during the week. And he literally, I don't know who was running it. It must be the main admin, but he just put in referee, just blow you up and whistle now. So, and that was 4-0 down. So I didn't catch it at 6-0. So God knows what he got. But obviously, again, kind of joint managers there. And Lee Bullock offered his resignation, and that was accepted. I know Haslam's still there, who was the other joint manager. Again, will he still get another couple of weeks, or do you think they will be looking at bringing in potentially another manager there?
It's a tough one, mate. I mean, give him the opportunity, because he's going to have kind of full control now, isn't he? Obviously, I know the work with the team, but give him a chance. You just don't know. He might turn around. He's a good football man there, so give him the opportunity. You can't get any worse at this point, really, can it? You know what I mean? So
that's it.
So it'd be an interesting one. Me personally, stick with him for another week or two, see if you can see any kind of difference in how they're setting up stuff like that. Got to give him a chance, haven't you?
That's it. I mean, it was nice to get the goalkeeper that's been there a while now, Shane Bland, really good non-league goalkeeper. I know he had a few things to say after the game. against 6-0, and then I've seen a few comments, the fans against him, the fans and him against the fans type of thing. But it was kind of good how they kind of kept it all together, and they said, right, we're going to push on together as a group going into the Mars game. Obviously didn't pay off, but 1-0 on paper is not too bad compared to obviously the 6-0 during the week. So it's improvement slightly, isn't it?
The way it is. I think supporters are always going to be disappointed and they're allowed to voice their opinion, you know.
Yeah.
They probably had that bit backwards and forwards, but, you know, they'll get behind the team the next game, you know. So, you know, I think it's a mutual respect kind of thing as well, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Didn't be in the game if you kind of take a bit of stick, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
once it starts a little banter on social media, just there's no winner, is there?
Nah, there's not, right? There's not.
We've all been there. Sam, thank you for watching, and Niall as well. Niall, thank you very much for watching as well. Getting on to the next one, which looks at an absolute crack. I've seen a few of the highlights. Looking back, I've tried to be watching as many as I can today because on the YouTubes and stuff. And the Dalton 3-2 win against Southport, same division, but another cracker as well. And Dalton's had a great start, 6th in the league, and it's different for them because you usually start very slow. Where now they've had that good start, and hopefully this win in the FA Cup can kind of push them on now. Because potentially now, looking at it, you've got 2 more rounds, and you could actually be in the first round of the proper FA Cup as well. It's touch and distance, isn't it, for some teams?
It is. To me, I'd be using that as motivation. Like you say, they've kind of come out of the blocks flying, really, haven't they? And I mean, they've got some good, experienced players in that side as well, you know. So obviously they're kind of drawn on their experience, and hopefully they can get into the third round proper. I think it'll be unbelievable for the club. Financially as well, so that it could keep that club going for years and years to come with ticket sales, definitely. You know. So you just don't know, do you? But best of luck to them as well. You know, continue as the meeting going.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next round of draw. I mean, just looking back over them results: Ashington 2, Bradford Park Avenue 1. That's one team through. Blythe Spartans 2, Guiseley 0. Cliff Road 2, Spenny 0. Scarborough Athletic 3, Dunstan 2. Whitby 0, Mars 1. Dalton 3. Southport 2, and Shildon obviously going to the last one in the moment, which was the final game. Shildon 0, South Shields 5. And this one was kind of, I was saying to my friend at work, he's kind of a massive South Shields, and I said this could be the cracker of the round. Expecting quite a close game, in all honesty, because I know Shildon's had quite a slow start in the north east side late in the league, and South Shields doing really well. But I thought FA Cup, something different. Shildon at home, but totally not. I think it was the massively Luis Alessandro hat-trick, but I mean, it just shows you the quality. I mean, he was playing League 2 football last season with Carlisle. He's now banging in hat-tricks for South Shields. I mean, you've got the likes of Michael Woods playing, Gary Little. It's literally a lot of these players have dropped from League 2, not down to Conference, not down to Conference North, down to play for South Shields. And you look on paper to say, 5-0. I did expect a lot closer, but really, look at them results. That's what it should be, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. I think we kind of touched on it on the first show we're doing, wasn't it? You know, that you've got those kind of players dropping down a couple of divisions just to go and play, for no disrespect to South Shields, but, you know, they're dropping out of proper league football there. So that says a lot about South Shields and what they're trying to do for the club, you know, and they're going to just kick on to the next level, and the best of the luck for them as well, you know. Says a lot about the club and the committee behind the club as well, you know, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we kind of don't know about as yet, you know. So fair play.
Definitely, but like I say, 5 or 6 northeast non-league sides going to the hat for the next round, and as you say, you've got the third round, you've got the fourth round. But what I was always find interesting, it's not just obviously the teams that got beat yesterday as well, but it's the money that they're making from these games. I know just kind of off the top of my head, off the last few seasons, I think the second round qualifying, which would have been I think it's 67,000 around that area that you get. And for some teams out the Northern League who's potentially still getting that, that's massive. That could pay wages for the next 3 or 4 months without worrying. That could bring in a player or two to push on for promote. It's crazy when you think about the little things, and I know we'll touch on it a lot more on Thursday night when we have our Northern League special, but you see a lot of Northern League sides, they'll take the risk bringing in 3 or 4 of these top players, expect to have a good run in the Vars or the FA Cup. But if they're out early rounds, that's your money gone, and it's hard to keep up paying them big wages, isn't it? I mean, just going up the next round as well, I think it's something like about 105k for the next round for the winners, and then if you get into the fourth round, win that 120, and that's it. And that's a lot of money. It's huge, isn't it? Really,
it's massive, especially at that level of football. It's huge. It's not. Yes, you can bring the players in as well, but you know you can improve your stadium. You know, you can relay a new pitch, all sorts of that kind of cash. And you've heard for years and years that kind of money literally it keeps a club going. You know, so it's massive, massive money, like you say. So hopefully we can kick on and get into like the proper rounds and stuff like that, because you just don't know who you're going to draw. Do you know what I mean? Ticket sales
would be
massive.
Yeah.
You know?
It would be amazing just to see at least one of them in that first round.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love watching the early. I know I watch it round by round, but I think as the rounds go on, you kind of like, yeah, it's going to be a big game. But then like you watch the early rounds and like you see people sitting in the clubhouses watching it on BBC on the telly, and they're like, yeah, they get like a big round. It's massive, and that's the best part of it for me. And that's what the FA Cup's like all about.
It is. I think
well.
a lot of people kind of forget. You know, there's like 5-6 rounds before you go into that third round proper as well, don't they?
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of don't realise that. So they're playing an extra 3, 4, 5 games before they even get into that round proper. So, you know, there's a lot of commitment from the clubs out there just to kind of push on and get further in the competition before they go into the third round proper. So massive, and it's a strain on the squads as well, you know, because if you think they've got those games, then they've got the league fixtures for fulfill and stuff like that. It's a huge commitment, but fair play to them because they do it every season. So
exactly, and some potential crackers in the next round. No kind of section it where you play northeast, kind of that level down, which I think is a bit unfair, because I think if it was kind of all mixed the early stages, the northeast would be through at the first round, no problem. And I think that's what the FA worry about. They always do the northeast. I've seen it in the Vars happen many times as well. But Tony's said a couple of rounds that looking at it, potentially imagine Blythe gets South Shields the next round. It's a huge game. I mean, like you say, Ashton, teams like that. I mean, they could. I mean, I would love to see like something like Ashton get on someone against South Shields, against Blythe, and get a good crowd, and like you say, get that money for the next round, because that could really push on them. I know that they're sitting about 7th or 8th in the Northern League at the minute because they haven't played that many games because of these cup games, but that could potentially see 1 or 2 good signings come in to help them push on, because I think promotion is the aim there this season, isn't it?
It is. I mean, Woodhall Lane, the improvements over the years they've done up there, it's phenomenal. It's really good to see. I think Robbie Dale's up there at the minute as well, isn't he? So, you know, to get a player his calibre, who's a Blythe legend, you know, says a lot about Ashington as well. I know there's a lad up there, Brian Shotton, I think he's called. He's very committed to the club. Very committed to the club, and he wants to output the best for them. So hopefully they can kind of kick on. Blythe South Shields at Ashington Shields at Blythe, they've been massive. They get huge crowds for that, without a doubt.
Definitely. Like you just hope them weekends as well, where you hope that like Newcastle's playing away or stuff like that, so they get like a crowd that they would have got potentially double and triple in the attendance, wouldn't it? Easy.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, look at the Ashington game. They've got over 700 against Bradford Park. Could you imagine a game like that? Do you know what I mean? It'd be absolutely colossal for both clubs. That, you know, proper northeast scrappy game of football. It's what you want, isn't it?
That's it. And like you say, potentially, like you see, the TV starts coming into play soon and stuff like that. There's a lot of money to be made from a lot like that as well. And yeah, Tony just mentioned their great ground. Bradford fans were good crack yesterday, but they were a poor team. I know. It was a few weeks ago. So I was watching highlights. I don't know why I watch all these highlights. Honestly, I watch anything at work on the night time, and there were like some of the football they were playing. It was awful. Like, but yeah, hats off to Ashton getting on that. As well. But again, we'll look on with great interest to see what happens in the next round, and hopefully never know potentially what the dates are, get along to one of the games as well, which would be fantastic as well. Get along. Next up, National League, 2 games yesterday, 2 1-1 draws, funny enough. Start with Gateshead, 1-1 with Boreham Wood, obviously still sitting kind of low down the league, 21st. I know Hassani scored, I think it was his debut, I think.
Was his debut, and he got man of the match, didn't he?
Not a bad way to start.
It's not.
But I think we kind of touched on it last night when we were speaking. I know that you've kind of said there is whispers of potentially Williamson with the Oldham job, and I think it was kind of the same in the summer where it was that linked heavily with the Hartlepool job. And but there you go again. I know the Hartlepool man is just being sacked as well, so that could be yes, that could be a one to watch. But I think that because he had not eyes elsewhere, but because the focus was taken away, kind of. I know a few signings were brought in a bit late, and are the potential to pay for that now? Do you think?
I am trying to get the right mix in the team as well, isn't it? I know he is bringing some quality players in. And I think it's a bit unjust from some of the supporters. I think it's only a small group of them that are kind of, you know, he's got to go kind of thing. You know, he got that team promoted, and he is adding quality to the team. I know there's been a few question marks raised over Langley as well, hasn't there? A few spotters saying they want Montgomery back in between the sticks. Like, what, he knows what he's doing. He's played Premier League football. He knows what he's doing, and he's got good support staff there. I think Ian Watson's part of his back in the team, isn't he?
Really good.
So, you've got some good experience behind them as well. So they'll kick on. There's some big teams in that division as well. Let's not forget. Just kind of touching on that. Congratulations to Dorking. They ended Notts County's run yesterday, I believe. That's a massive scalp to take in that division, because I mean they're flying at the minute as well, aren't they? And they've got Langstaff, who used to play for Gateshead as well. So fair play. But there's some massive teams in that division. It's not going to be easy. And I think we touched on it the first show we done, didn't we? We were like, oh, you know, you've got the likes of Notts County, Oldham and stuff like that. So stick with them. You've got to stick with them, for my opinion. Like, get these players bedded in properly, because they're all coming out. It's a great family club to be around and stuff. They're enjoying the training and stuff. So something will click in place, you know. So we'll see what happens with them.
Rob Elliott as well, hasn't it? He's just joined as director of football as well. And they're trying to get something together where they are pushing for. I don't think they expected to kind of get promoted last season. I think it was kind of, they just wanted to kind of get a squad together. I mean, I watched them 2 pre-season games, and they played Newcastle under 23s and Hartlepool off the park. Like, the football that they played, the passing football, the quick movement was absolutely fantastic. And like you say, when you go into a new season, you lose your 2 top goal scorers. And obviously they're getting a lot of the young players and they're trying to mix that together. I think if he did go out and get potentially 1 or 2 more kind of players that's done it over the years, rather than just getting the young players, I think that potentially would help that group moving forward. But I think it'll be interesting to see now what happens with a few higher jobs that's opened up there to see if he potentially will leave or will he stick with Gateshead, because I know he is highly rated as a manager, isn't he?
He is. I hope he sticks with Gateshead, like, to be fair, because you know he's put a lot of graft into there. And he is starting to. He's getting performances from the player. Campbell and Blackett, 2 to mention. You know, Blackett's just he's immense. He's constantly harrying the back 4. He's constantly at them. You know, it will click into place. I understand the frustration with fans. I don't get it, but you know, like I said, there's some massive teams in that division. A lot of teams before the season started were like, oh, you know, they'll go down. You don't know. You know, they've shocked a couple of teams. They've gotten a couple of draws there. Yes, they're not the wins, but they've picked up a point. You know, and that hopefully that kind of spur them on for the remainder of the season.
Definitely, as Tony says, a successful season for Gateshead is just stay in the league. Like, especially, like, say, if you stay in that league, and it just seems there's always 1 or 2 teams where will have this surprise season in that league, and if you do that, you could play in the league too. It's just that's the difference, but it's crazy, isn't it? Or like that's mad, and like you've just got to 3 or 4 wins, and there's always teams changing. You go on that winter spell where players don't like playing in a midweek and a winter and stuff like that, and it's just little things how it turns your season so much. It really does. I mean, getting on to the next one, you just mentioned big teams. Scunthorpe sitting 23rd in the league. It's mad. 1-1 with York City sitting 8th, and it's mad, isn't it? Like you say, there's some of these teams that's played league football all this time. They come down, and look how they're struggling straight away. I mean, they're sitting potentially they could go down another division next year, and then it's the same with I was saying to a friend at work the other day, Yeovil. They were playing championship football for 6 or 7 years ago, and they're just going bump, 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 and it's just crazy how it could happen to a football club so quick, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think Scunthorpe, they were championship once upon a time in all, and they've just kind of just dropped down and continue to drop down. I think they've been on a steady decline for quite a while. Scunthorpe now, like we're saying, Gateshead 21st, Scunthorpe 23rd. So you know, like you were saying, you just don't expect it, but that's football. It happens.
Definitely. I think a lot of the York fans, yes, I don't think they were angry at the result. I think it was just because I think Scunthorpe was the 80th minute, obviously equalised, and that could have went from potentially 1 point to 3 points, and that could have pushed them onto that top 6. And I think, like you say, that's where they wanted to be around the fans, looking at the kind of the comments I've seen over the weekend as well. And like you say, just them little goals hanging on the last minute can be crucial come end of the season, isn't it?
Course it can. It makes all the difference. You know, you can concentrate for 70, 80 minutes, but that one lapse in concentration and you're punished for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what division you're playing, and even like say junior football, same happens in junior football. I think the important thing for me, it's you learn from it. You try to put that right in the next game, you know. And if you've got anything about a footballer, you learn from it. You learn from your mistakes. You go, right, I'm determined not to make that happen again, or maybe I'll position myself that little bit better. You've got to constantly be thinking throughout the game. It's not just a case of kicking the ball around. You've got to be very intelligent and know what you're doing. So, but we'll see what happens with that one as well. I'll keep a close eye on that one, to be fair. But it is frustrating. I get supporters' frustrations. I would be frustrated. It happens. You kick on from it. You have to kick on from it. You cannot sit there and dwell on it for too long. So good luck to them is what I say.
And the next one, I think this has got me the most proudest of the weekend. I was like, we say we had Daniel Moore on last week, and we're kind of talking about that now step up between where back in the days you won the Northern League, and if you wanted to take promotion, it wasn't an option. Like you said, you didn't have to go if you didn't want to. Where now you've got to. Yeah. And in the like about 4 or 5 years ago, you went up, and your nearest away game could have been Yorkshire, Manchester, and teams struggled because of it. Yeah. But this next step up now, the Northern Premier East, like we said, Daniel last week, honestly, this is going to be full. It's going to be Northern League sides from top to bottom come 3 or 4 seasons because it's that strong. And I think that goes on the results yesterday, 4 wins out of 4 for the sides in that league. And that just shows the quality that we have. Just starting going through them. Hebburn 5, Tadcaster 3, Lincoln United 0, Concert 1, North Shields 2, Grantham 0, and Stockton 1, Cleethorpes 0. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Starting with Hebburn. And that must have been another cracker. Again, I've watched a few of the highlights, and a 5-3 win. The Hebburn fans must have loved that yesterday in ways. Obviously, must have been nervous at times, but it's another cracking win, isn't it, for Hebburn?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the people are going to be talking about that game. We'll have the club buzzing. I know they are doing great things down there as well. The facilities alone, I've passed them a couple of times. I've not been fortunate enough to get into the ground yet, but it's just so impressive what they're doing down there. And that's massive. It's huge. Let's not kind of take the gloss of that. It's a huge win. That again, they'll kick on. They're going to shock a few teams. That's all I'm saying. And definitely. Again, it's showing the strength of the North East football team. It really, really is. And that's going to benefit all clubs involved. So good luck to them.
Definitely some quality players here. Martin amongst the goals, Reid, Pearl. It's just lads that have played in the North East for so many years now, and they're just reaping the rewards of these new divisions that's being made. And I know we touched on it last week with Bobby. Well, I always call him, but his nickname Bobby Moore. So I'm not talking about the Bobby Moore, but yeah, Daniel Moore on last week, and even just his hunger as well. He says, I want to be managing at the highest level I can. Now he's seeing the options that's out there. He wants to push on to the next heights, and if not, he wants to take Hebburn with him. And looking at it now, obviously they're sitting second in the league and very strong. Obviously, I know Stockton's kind of at the top at the moment, even stronger. But like you say, when them two's got a play show, that'll be a cracking game as well. Honestly, they just, when I was listening to him last week and his interview and just his hunger and his passion and his just love for the game, and he just said, right, if I'm not taking if this team's not going with us, I'm going to go there. I'm going to make sure that I drag every player through us with this season and make sure that we can potentially win promotion at the next division. I think that's what you want to hear from a manager. You don't just want to hear, we'll go out and finish mid-table, try and stay up. You want to hear that from a manager, don't you?
I've played under a couple of coaches when I've played over the years with that kind of hunger as well. And what you take from that as a player, it stays with you throughout the season. And if he's getting his team motivated, he's only going to reap the rewards. And like I say, I know they're all doing great things down there. And Daniel, there's a player that's massive that you're hearing your manager saying that. Even if they lose a game, he's the kind of bloke that you're not going to be too downhearted. And you're going, right, we'll learn a lesson from it. And that's what you want to hear from your manager. He instills confidence into those players, and those players are going out and they're putting 110% in for him as well as the club themselves. So massive respect for him for that. And I'm sure the players will kind of echo those thoughts as well.
They will. And Tony as well has mentioned the Northern Premier League has now become the Northern League. Definitely with all the good teams getting promoted. It's good for the fans, but obviously watch teams costing a little bit more now. Obviously we're getting that and trying to get that little bit extra money in for the players as well. And I think we'll touch more on Thursday night. We have our Northern League special show as well. I think the only thing is now with so many teams going up from the Northern League, it's starting to drop the Northern League quality slightly in certain areas. I know I've watched a couple of Division 2 games this season. It's been kind of not disrespectful on par with like a good Sunday League potential game. in a way where there's a lot more young lads playing and just don't seem to have that little bit hunger where the players back in the day they did when I used to go and watch them obviously down Farron's Park, the old Durham City and teams like that just don't seem to have that little bit hunger between them in the fight and very poor quality in some of the games I've seen, but like you say, we'll talk a lot more I think on Thursday night about that, won't we?
It's I think it's from teams like that. It's just instinctive football, isn't it? They just try to get through the 90 minutes, and it kind of shows in the standard of the football that they're playing as well. I know I do a bit of stuff with Nova, and there's one of the lads I can't remember what game he was at now. He says he literally couldn't get an interview. Nobody from the club wanted to give him an interview. He literally went. He said there was nothing to report on the game. It was that bad. The football was so poor. I can't remember which game it was now, but I wouldn't name the clubs anyway.
Yeah.
But he was like, I couldn't give you a report because there was literally nothing happened in this game. I'm thinking, well, that's not good, is it? You know. But they refused to do interviews and everything with them because they were so. I didn't have to one angry with how they played, or they just were like, so well, I didn't even want to talk about it again. You know. It's a shame.
It sounds like my next show, like Newcastle Bournemouth for something. How can we just talk about that game?
That was dreadful to watch yesterday. Like,
oh, it was awful. But again, everyone, lots watching live now, which we really appreciate your support as well. Like I say, we're just trying to get this content out there to help as many clubs as we can. I know we're trying to put as much out on Twitter, on Facebook, because we want fans from these clubs now to come to our shows. We want members, managers, chairmen, just come on. We want to advertise get you pushed out there in show as much as we can. So anyone watching now, anyone watching back later, get in contact with us. We want to hear your stories. That's what this is all about. And that's why we love the non-league as well. Definitely. Getting the last couple of games from that division as well. Concert, again, sitting third in the league. Another good start. Jake Orwell with the scorer there, 1-0 against Lincoln United. And again, it's just kind of going down. Hebburn second, Concert's third. And the strength as well. And getting on to North Shields, obviously a little bit lower down with ninth, but obviously another 2-0 win against Grantham with Deirdre. And Brad Hurd scoring the goals down there as well. Great striker, Brad Hurd. I know I've potentially played against him in Sunday League, and he's kind of went out and made his trade at a few different clubs, but now playing at North Shields, like a really good, tall, quick, big build strike, like really good player. But another good win for Constant North Shields there, isn't it?
Absolutely massive for both clubs there. I've seen a little bit of the YouTube stuff from Concert and a couple of the Facebook videos that they put on. Again, same as Ashton, that meant everything to them, because I think that's the first time they've travelled down to Lincoln United as well. So nobody will have the travelling down there. You know, they've put a shift in and the rewards from that while you're winning the game 1-0. You know, and I know that again they're doing great things up at Concert as well. It's a great setup up there as well.
Yeah, really good.
So I think they've got a 3G pitch up there now, I think. So well, fair play to them. They're reaping the rewards. You know, they're putting the graft in on and off the pitch. So good luck to them. Hopefully they can kind of kick on. I know we're talking about how good the football is up here, but this kind of includes the Northern Alliance as well. There's some good football played down at that level as well, you know. Some really decent sides in there. Borough and New Fordley, the likes of that. I think Newcastle Independent, they've kind of, I think it's their first season now. I believe they're sitting third, if I remember rightly. So at that level as well, no disrespect to that kind of setup sort of thing, but it's down there as well. The football's absolutely immense down there, you know, and that's kind of kicking on right throughout the divisions. And again, it's only showing just how good the North East football is. You know?
Definitely. I think as well, it showed you, like with the teams that now there's like relegations and stuff, where before it was only if teams wanted to come up with, obviously, if the ground's up for scratch as well. But the teams in that, like the Lions League, now they've seen how teams go up the Northern League and they can cope. And to be honest, some of the teams that come up, because they're on a high, you always finish in the top 10, kind of even getting promoted again. And I think now a lot of teams have seen that and said, but you know what it is, we want a piece of this now as well. And I think a lot of teams who are struggling in the Northern League Division 2, which will go over on Thursday night, they've got to be kind of watching over the shoulders now, because there's a lot of teams want to come up and have a go at this Northern League now, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we interviewed Bully from Blue Star a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And he's very much like, look, you just need to be kicking on, kind of thing, you know. I know he did tell the club there's a couple of players he kind of had a few doubts and stuff over. But that just goes to show the standard there. You know, he's an experienced lad, ex-Dunstan lad, and he's trying to motivate these players to kind of kick on to the next level. So if you've got squads with players like Bully and you set up there, you know, it's a win-win. And like I say, the clubs are now starting to see the rewards from that, because they are pushing on. And like you say, teams higher up kind of looking over the shoulder again.
Yeah.
If we go down, we're going to kind of kick back on and get back up into the division, because it won't be easy, you know. So again, it's a massive thing, huge.
Yeah, and Tony there, massive shout out for his local team, Cromlton, as well. But as he says, he's lost a lot of players due to other clubs offering crazy money. I know I've heard like daft sums mentioned for a few players that's even dropped out in Northern League to go and play on there. Not kind of the wage, is more of a signing on fee. I've heard grands and stuff, which is a lot of money for a sign. I know they must have like something in the contract where you must have to stay for so long. But yeah, a lot of money getting offered just to sign on for the club. But I think that's it now. Everyone just wants to kind of have a piece of the pie, and they've kind of seen now the Northern League step up to the Northern Premier Easters. It's anyone's oyster now. You can go out there and grab it if you want to, can't you?
Exactly. If you've got the hunger and the desire and the ambition, why not go and do it? Why not go and do it? And you're starting to see this with a lot of clubs now. They're very ambitious. They want to kick on. They want to develop grounds. I would love to get a player on that would kind of like talk about what's offered in these contracts, like, because I've heard some crazy money offered as well, you know. I don't think we'd be able to, but you know, I never know. It'd be interesting.
You never know. We'll offer our own little bonus for them.
Exactly.
And last game in that league as well, Stockton won and Cleethorpes 0, and Thompson with his goal scorer there, and he's kind of one of my favourite players of the non-league scene, Stephen Thompson. And there's no reason why he couldn't have played a lot higher. Honestly, when he's on that ball, he's absolutely magic. He's a big built lad, but honestly, he can go past players like they're not there. He's like a little messy, but kind of big, a little bit stumpier. But what a player is, the strength that he has. I know a few players that we've talked to has always mentioned how good he is as well, which is absolutely fantastic. But another great win for Stockton again, sitting top of the league and so strong. And I think just looking at that league, I know there's a couple of clubs that will play an FA Cup out of that league, but I think there's about 6 or 7 teams out of the Northern League that's now in that league, and there's no doubt for me that there'll be at least the top 5 made up of them teams come the end of the season, won't there?
Oh God, absolutely. Like you say, you've got players like that are spoken of highly. So you know, these other players at other clubs, you know, they're not just saying it for saying its sake. They kind of, you know, look at, he's a special player, like, and again, he's obviously his teammates in and around him. They're kind of learning a little bit from him, for example. And that's it's only a benefit, isn't it? You're only going to benefit from that, getting that kind of experience. Watching a lad like that ghosting past players, you've got to be thinking, wow, maybe Zach can learn something from him. Yeah. So why not? Why not?
Exactly. Yeah, like Tony's mentioned there, some about £100 a week alleged. Not sure though, but I can imagine definitely around that, even more for some clubs, especially the teams up the top. I think once the season starts and they finish it, well, around this kind of first between top 1 up and down to top 6, and they've got that outside chance of going up, there's always going to be a chance where they're going to pay an extra £100 for a couple of players to come in and try and make that push, aren't they?
Yeah. It's not necessarily the wrong thing to do either. It's not necessarily the wrong thing to do either. You know, it's probably paying a bit over the odds, but you know, again, it's showing a little bit of ambition. They're going to do it. All clubs are going to do it at some point. You know, be interesting to see if we could get somebody on to actually discuss it. Like, but we'll see. But you know, I can kind of see where fans are coming from with why you're paying them that kind of sign-on fee. But I can also see why the clubs are doing it as well. You know, they want to kind of push on. And if they're going to pay the money, if they think this player can add something that little bit more special, and you can kind of kick them on a little bit. So I think it's like the flip side of the coin, isn't it, really? Within reason, like, obviously.
That's it. I mean, I know I've heard a couple of things about how the work they pay. I know some players now on contract and stuff, and obviously got to be paid week by week. And I've heard like there's a few clubs as well where they have struggled over the years, where they have paid big money and then they've almost gone out because of the paid that much. Where now there's, I can't remember the names of the clubs, but I know my mate who was involved kind of around the area have kind of said there's a few clubs now where all the gate money that comes in, any cup money that comes in, it all goes into a pot. And at the end of the season, the players that are left at the end of the season, they get to share that pot, which is quite a good idea as well. So they're not paying out money that they can't afford to bring in. Obviously, it potentially as well will keep a group of players together up until the end of the season. So if they have a good start and they know there's going to be a good pot at the end of that season, there's no way that players will be leaving. But I think it's a bit harsh on the players where the managers are pushing them out halfway through the season. They might give them a couple of quid for leaving, but I don't know how true that is. But I can understand why some clubs would do that, though, wouldn't you?
Oh God, absolutely. It's totally understandable, isn't it? like you say, if you're going to be doing something like that, which is a good idea, you're going to keep your core of players for the entirety of the season. You know, so that surely that's only going to benefit the club, isn't it? Really, do you know what I mean? And it is a good idea. Like you say, because what they're paying out for winter training, because if they're not using their own facilities to train, they're going to be paying astronomical money. I think there was one place just leading up to Christmas, some 3G pitches were charging up to 300 quid for a training session. And it was absolutely insane. I was going, how can you justify that kind of money? So,
crazy, man.
You know, like we've said it before and we'll keep saying it, getting supporters through the till side, it's massive. It keeps clubs ticking over, you know.
Definitely. And if we can help do that, push them on the channel, that's what we'll do. So, I mean, I know, I think it kind of hit home. I read in the paper, even like League Two sides, League One sides, and down below, they've kind of potentially going to be asking for kickoffs in the winter to move to 1 o'clock because they just can't afford to put the floodlights on. And that just shows you how clubs are struggling going into winter. Like you say, Northern League teams training, if they haven't got a 3G pitch that they're playing on, got to go and pay out. And it's a lot of money that the clubs are paying out, isn't it?
It's me, to be fair, I can't see how you can even try to justify that kind of money for what, an hour and a half training session, £300. That's just like a random figure, but it was close to that, if not that. And I'm like, how can you justify that? You know? And I know this particular club, there's a couple of them that are absolutely massive within the community, and they're doing a lot. So if you're going to be charging a venue something like that, what's kind of example is that setting, or what's that showing to the local community? And that's like, oh, it'd be a bit reasonable, yeah, sort of thing, you know, because they're taking the club and they're taking their name to their particular venue. It's going, oh, look, we've got this squad here training, but what we're doing is we're having their eyes out as well, and it's not fair. It's really, really not fair. And then the clubs are kind of having to put extra money onto ticket sales and stuff like that to try and justify what they have had to pay out there. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about, and hopefully we can get a lot of people on to kind of divulge in that a little bit more for you. You know, I think it'd be quite an interesting conversation to have with somebody on the show, actually.
Especially get one of the chairmen on, talk about the bling, talk about the money, see what actually does go on, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. They're never going to give a complete breakdown, but just a little bit of an insight on it. I think it'd be absolutely fascinating. Like,
definitely. And that's honestly, Tony, thank you so much for that. That's a hell of a post there. He's going to promote this to any channel, any non-league game that I go to games on my own, talk to anyone next to me. So yeah, really appreciate it. Like, Tony, really do. Like, hopefully, like you say, we're going to try and get out as many games as we can once the World Cup break comes on. We'll try and get to a game that you're going to and have a meet up before the game as well. That'd be really good. Just over yourself now, Stephen, of the Northern League. I know, like you say, we've got a big show on Thursday night about it, but we're just going to name the results. And I've got 2 games I've kind of picked out to kind of chat about as well. And I don't know about yourself, but yeah.
We'll start off with the EBAC Northern League First Division. Just quickly run through a few results there. Bishop Auckland 1, Benfield 0. Carlisle City 0, Gisborough 2. Cooktown 4, Seam Red Star 0. Northallerton Town 1, Townlaw 3. Pickering Town 1, Penrith 2. Redcar 1, Sunderland RCA 3. Thornby 0, Heaton Stannerton 1. Wickham 3, West Allotment 1. Whitley Bay 3, West Auckland 0. I think my probably standout game for that one would probably be Whitley Bay. I think they're on a bit of a streak at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's absolutely flying.
That's mine from the Division 1 as well. I mean, I've picked one from Division 1, one from Division 2, and I mean, that was mine. I know we've got 2 great, just like you say, just doing this channel, 2 great lads I met from Baywatch, not Baywatch TV, but actually Whitley Bay. Richard and Darren. I know we nearly had one on Thursday night, but he was double booked at work, I think. So see if we can get the other one on though. But yeah, they're doing great things off the pitch with Whitley Bay down there. So yeah, if you're watching, get yourselves across to Baywatch TV, get yourself subscribed there as well. I know they've got a great night coming up soon with a couple of great guests, so keep an eye on the Facebook page as well. But yeah, Whitley Bay and Nick Gray doing a great job down there, sitting top of the league. I played 10, won 8, draw 1, lost 1. Like I say, I know the likes of Ashton have only played a few games, but if they keep going like that, they're going to be up there, aren't they?
Oh God, I absolutely. I just watched the highlights this afternoon.
Yeah, same.
They were just absolutely, they were class. Very, very organised. You could share the communication amongst the players. They were constantly talking, and they played some really good football. So they're doing great things down at Whitley Bay as well. Long may it continue as well, because they are a good side. Like you say, they're going to kick on to that next level now, aren't they?
Definitely.
Good stuff.
I've just got beer watching my head downstairs. I'm just running down the beach like I kind of got my head.
I can see in the Hasselhoff shorts and wig and that, mate. I'm just going to move on to Evac Northern League Second Division. Billingham 7, Willington 0, Berkeley Town 3, Newcastle Uni 1, Blythe Town 1, Jarrow 0, Brandon 3, Bedlington 1, Chesterley Street 0, Billingham Town 4, Easington 2, Oulden 2, Prudhoe Seniors 2, Chesterley Street United 0, and Washington 0, Sunderland West End 2. For me, I would probably go with Berkeley Town, you know. They're doing some good things up there. That, you know, I think it's Bryson, who was formerly manager at Newcastle Blue Star. He's got the team playing some decent football. So again, long may continue. I know he is a decent manager.
Very good.
Right. It's a canny little setup up there, actually. It's not the best around, but you know, they make the best of a bad situation and they're all kind of kicking on and are looking to improve, that's fair enough, isn't it? Again, it's showing the ambition for the club and what they want to do. Right? And it's a massive thing, isn't it?
Huge. I mean, the one I picked stood out for me yesterday was the Brandon 3-1 win against Bedlam. I know both sides kind of not expecting to be up where they are, and I think that just shows a lot of praise to both the sides. And I'm hoping the Brandon manager is actually Thompson's going to be on next week for us as well on the Thursday night, which will be really good, because I would like to say I messaged him earlier today to say kind of, well, wanted you to come on the show to kind of praise for what you've done for Brandon over the last season and going into this season, because it was always one of those teams a bit like the likes of Durham City, where they went unknown for a lot of years, and then obviously Durham City's dropped the league, and every season I always see on the site, it's the nonleaguezone.com or .net, and you always people put on who do you think the top three will be, who do you think the bottom three will be, and it's always kind of Brandon mentioned in the bottom three, and I'm over the moon for the club itself that they've actually stuck together now and built a really good squad, and they're pushing on and doing good things. Because at the start of the season, again, when I was looking at these chat rooms and stuff, and it was always Brandon's going to go down, and I think now they've kind of went, you know what it is, we're going to go out and show that we're not. And like you say, they've got a lovely ground up there and a great committee, and I'm over the moon for the lads as well. I mean, I think they're sitting 8th now, played 11, won 7, drawn 2, lost 2, but between the number 1 team and the number 9 team, it's 5 points. And it just shows you how strong, isn't it? Obviously, I know the winter. I think if you're still in around the top 6 after winter, it'll show you what type of teams will be up there. And that's not just in Division 2. That can be in Division 1, the National League, any division, to be honest, as well. Just a great point there from Tony, looking at the top 3 going forward for Division 1. He's got going for Ashton, Whitley Bay and Wickham. It's not going to be far from them teams, is it, soon?
No, it's I know it's me mate of mine, he currently manages the Wickham under 23 side. And I know he's got a very solid squad there, and I know they kind of they move up into the senior side. Again, it's an absolutely amazing setup up there as well, and they're only going to get bigger. They're going to get better. So good luck to Wickham as well. But I know Thomas under 23s, he's got some players in that side, mate. So unbelievable. They're young and they're hungry. They want to do it.
Yeah.
You know. And again, that's only going to benefit the club. It's going to benefit the team. You know, I think they get a decent gate there on its home games as well. I believe I'm not sure what the figures are, but I know they get a good following there at times. Like so, Wickham, I definitely want to watch. Whitley Bay and Ashton as well. Absolutely, why not? You know,
definitely. I know we've only kind of touched on the North League, but like I say, because we've got just literally now we're kind of a show on Thursday night, which we're looking forward to doing. So I know there's a few games in between now and Thursday as well. So that'll be really good to kind of sit down and see how the teams get on again, and kind of who's looking away, who's going to be looking up there, who's going to be looking over the shoulders going into kind of say like the winter period as well. I mean, just a couple of shows that we have got coming up just before we finish there. Thursday night, as we say, our episode 3. Okay, we're hoping to do possibly 1 or 2 a month. We're getting 3 already. It's not even the end of this month yet. Just loving it, man, aren't we?
absolutely.
But this one, Northern League special, like you say, we're hoping to have Neil Cooper on, coach from Ashton. Like you said at the start of the show, I just absolutely love his passion for the club on Facebook. I think if you, I don't know, like I say, I've never met him, but I think if you just cut him in half, he will bleed black and white. Ashton, honestly, he absolutely loves it. Yeah, and like you say, hopefully we have Matty Thompson on, the Brandon United manager as well, which will it just shows what we're trying to do with this channel, like, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's highlighting what we're proud to watch. Do you know what I mean? And why not? I don't think there's anything kind of out there trying to kind of tap into what we're trying to do. You know, all we want to do is we want to get clubs out there. We want to get supporters involved, coming on, talking about their love for the clubs and stuff. To me, it's a little bit different to what others are doing. So we'll get in touch and we can get you on the show and stuff. You know, why not? We'll look to hear from you.
Definitely Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to do, drop us a message anytime as well. And obviously looking at towards next Sunday, Ian Watson coming on, 7:45 that one. And like you say, a lad who's played Whitley Bay, Spenny, Darlow, Blythe Spartans, a bit of a legend up there as well. And obviously now with Gator, assistant manager, and I know just the type of character he is. I cannot wait to have a little chat with him and hear some of it. I can imagine he's got a lot of good stories to tell on that one as well, hasn't he?
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to that one. Like, pretty good one, that one.
Definitely. But just before we go, Steve, I know there's a little you want to mention there just before the end of the show about the lad up there as well.
There's a young lad, if I can kind of direct you to the Gated Red Youth page, there's a young lad there. He plays for Red Youth Under 7s by the name of Leland. He's quite seriously ill and he's needing help finding a bone marrow donor. If you head over to the page, there is a bit of a link there and a bit of a story and a bit of background of what's going on there. So we can try and support little Leland then, hopefully get him better again, you know. He's got MDS, blood cancer, pre-leukemia. So if I can kind of get you to go over onto their Facebook page, to even just a message of support for the lad. You know, he's just starting his football journey. You didn't want to see you burn unwell, you know. So best of luck to Leland and his family, more thinking of them as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like you say, get yourselves across and anything like this, that's what we're here for, to help as much as we can. Any little causes, like you say, give us a shout. We'll always try our best to get them mentioned on the shows as well. Another great idea there from Tony, just before we go, can we do some leaflets to hand out? Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I'll get on that straight away. I'll try and get some knocked up and get printed. I'll get some sent out without a doubt. Like that would really help us massively, that would. Good idea. I know I was trying to get some little cards, mate, just to leave on the Metro and kind of outside St. James's Park yesterday. I'll probably get kicked out again, but like, try my best. In great show again, yeah.
Display, man. It'll be class, wouldn't it?
But no, everyone, like you say, a lot watching now as well. We really appreciate your support, and Tony as well. Like you say, get yourself on sometime as well. Tony, I'd love to chat you on the show as well. It'd be really good. If you're watching, we have got another show in 20 minutes time. I think that'll only last about 5 or 6 minutes, like Newcastle versus Bournemouth review. I think I was still haven't getting over since yesterday, that one. Like, so that'll be quite interesting. But everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. And we'll be back next week with 2 non-league shows, obviously with the international break as well.